Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Tanner here and welcome back to a new Ninjago video here on the channel. In today's video, we are going to be looking back through some of my older Ninjago videos and determining some of my favorite examples of theories that I got absolutely correct. So obviously throughout my entire time of being a Ninjago YouTuber, I've done several videos about the series and most of which involved my own speculation and my own theories. I've done several videos based around my ideas for the new Ninjago seasons based off of evidence that we had from the show, and I've created several theories on the franchise. Again, I love Ninjago with all my heart, so obviously I would want to go ahead and try to figure out what would happen, and since I'm a Ninjago YouTuber, they basically become video theories, which is what we're going to be looking at in today's video. I've decided to go back through my content and pick out some of my favorite examples of theories that I got correct. Obviously, I've already done a video about this with theories that I got incorrect, so be sure to go ahead and check out that video if you have not already. But let's go ahead and look at some theories that are correct. Like that other video though, I will be taking a favorite sample from every season that I've covered. Obviously I started my Ninjago content around Hands of Time. I had always been a fan, but I started making videos about Ninjago around season 7-ish, and I've done some episode reviews for Hands of Time, but I didn't really start with my theories until Sons of Garmadon was coming out. I was very much into that release, and I was trying to figure out everything I could about Sons of Garmadon, especially with the new, I guess, remastered format with Ninjago that they were introducing with that season. So obviously that's where we're going to start. We're going to pick out a favorite theory of mine from Sons of Garmadon all the way up until Master of the Mountain. Obviously season 14 is not out yet as of the time of recording this video, so we can't really know for sure which one of my theories based around that season are correct or incorrect, whatever. The season is not out yet, so we can't really do that. However, in this video we will be covering seasons 8 all the way to 13. So let's go ahead and get started here by taking a look at my favorite example of a correct theory from Ninjago season 8. So my favorite season 8 theory that I did that was actually correct was pretty much the video in which I talked about the evil potential of Harumi and Hutchins. Of course, it did turn out that Harumi was a bad guy, but Hutchins was not. But in the actual video at hand, I talked about who the Quiet One could be and why I figured it might have been Harumi. I kind of gave a few explanations as to why Harumi could have been a bad guy based on evidence that we had, and I kind of proposed the idea in that video that, you know, Lloyd is falling for Harumi, so how heartbreaking would it be for Lloyd's character if it turned out that Harumi was a bad guy? Turns out that it's exactly what happened. Lloyd fell for Harumi, and Harumi revealed her evil intentions to Lloyd. Something else that I talked about in the video, though, was the evil potential of Hutchins, who of course turned out to be not evil in the slightest, but that's what I predicted in that video as well. I predicted that the trailers kind of made Hutchins appear to be some type of bad guy, but I figured that was a little too obvious, and it was kind of a red herring, if you will, for the real bad guy of season 8, which of course did turn out to be Harumi. So that video I take pride in. That's probably my favorite theory that I've ever done, and it's probably one of the most famous examples of theories that I got correct. A lot of Sons of Garmadon I feel like I predicted pretty accurately. Obviously there are still some theories here and there that I got wrong, but for the most part I think I got it, especially with theories like this with Harumi and Hutchins. I said Harumi was evil and Hutchins was probably not, so I think I will give myself credit for that one and say that I got that one pretty much correct. Let's go ahead and continue with a season 9 theory. So this theory comes from the video entitled Ninjago season 9, Harumi dies. That was about it. So obviously, as we know, in season 9, Harumi did actually perish at the hands of, well, not Garmadon. In the video, I pretty much predicted that Garmadon would have been responsible for Harumi's demise. In reality, she just kind of fell down with a building that collapsed, and that was obviously due to a whole bunch of various things going on at once, but it wasn't in the way I predicted. But the overall concept of Harumi dying, I actually predicted, and it turned out to be correct. So I'm going to give myself credit for that one. I will talk about how I predicted Harumi would die, though. I predicted that eventually Garmadon would get fed up with her and just kind of axe her on his own. Of course, pretty similar to what he did with Mr. E. But it turns out that Garmadon actually cared about Harumi, and after her demise, he actually didn't really respond to that very well and kind of lost his mind. So clearly that logic was a little faulty there, but the overall general concept of Harumi dying is something that I predicted, so I'm going to give myself credit on that one. Let's go ahead and continue with a season 10 theory. So for season 10, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. For a long time, we didn't know if March of the Oni was season 10 or if Ninjago Legacy had anything to do with it, but I did make a prediction that sometime in 2019, the Golden Weapons would return to Ninjago, which they definitely did. This comes from the video entitled Ninjago 2019, The Golden Weapons Return. So essentially in this video, I kind of predicted that because the Ninjago Legacy sets were so focused on, I guess, older Ninjago stuff, obviously they were coming out at the time I predicted that in Season 10, which would pretty much fall hand in hand with Legacy, that the golden weapons would somehow make an appearance. Of course, they did in the form of the golden armor, and naturally Kai melted the armor down to reforge the golden weapons for the ninja, again, to fight off the Oni. So it was a pretty interesting concept that I really liked from Season 10. And I actually predicted it to be true, so I'm going to give myself credit on that one as well. I did really feel like Season 10, March of the Oni, did a great job, I guess, integrating the Ninjago Legacy stuff with the actual new season. I felt like that was a really difficult task that they pulled off really nicely, so props to them. But again, the whole concept of the golden weapons returning pretty much got that right, so that's going to be my favorite example of a correct theory from Season 10. Season 11 is a little bit different, because Season 11 I made several videos on, and a lot of the theories turned out to be very, very incorrect. However, the main common, I guess, theory that I had and a lot of other people had throughout Season 11 was the idea of Zane being evil. This idea comes from a video entitled Ninjago, Zane is Evil in Season 11, and basically what we talked about was the fact that Zane could potentially be the Ice Emperor. Because we had the Ice Emperor's name at the time, we didn't really know anything else other than he was the main villain of the final, I guess, arc of Season 11, otherwise known as the Ice Chapter, and it was very heavily rumored that Zane was going to be the Ice Emperor. So a lot of us pretty much expected that, and a lot of us predicted that. Turns out it was very true. There was a long period of time where I was kind of bouncing back and forth on whether or not Zane was evil or whether or not he was still a good guy. Eventually, though, I just pretty much, I guess, concluded that he would be the Ice Emperor, which that did turn out to be true. So I'm not going to give myself a whole lot of credit for that one because it's something that everybody kind of predicted, but it still goes, I guess, to serve as an example of a Ninjago theory that I got correct. So I'm not going to go ahead and, again, dismiss that theory because I did predict it, but it's something that a lot of us pretty much expected. So can't really be too grateful for that one. Let's go ahead and talk about a theory from Prime Empire that I actually predicted. So this theory comes from the video that I made entitled Ninjago, the ninja deleted in Season 12, question mark. So obviously I predicted that Season 12 was going to be very similar to Skybound in the sense that some ninja would get axed pretty quickly, and eventually the team would be whittled down to just one member. In that video, I also predicted that it would be Jay, obviously because Jay is the main focus ninja of Season 12, and we knew that at the time, and again, it's very similar to Skybound in the sense that Nia and Jay are the only ones left, but ultimately Jay is the one that has to save everybody at the end of the season. So again, it was kind of similar to Skybound, which I kind of predicted as well, but I did predict each ninja being deleted before the finale, and Jay would have to save them. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself props on that one. I do think that this was very similar to Skybound, but in a way I feel like that was intentional because, again, it is a Jay-focused season, so I feel like they were both paying homage to Skybound while also making its own thing. So I'm not too upset about that, but the fact that I did kind of predict that does kind of, I guess, excite me a little bit, but it does, I guess, make me realize that Ninjago has gotten a little predictable over the years, but that's neither here nor there. I still think that I did a pretty good job on that theory, all things considered, and I feel like that was a pretty good plot point from the show altogether. So overall, really impressed with how Prime Empire turned out, and I'm glad I was able to at least get something correct, because Prime Empire was another example of a season where I kind of made a whole bunch of crazy theories, but I'm happy that one of them turned out to be right. Now let's finally get into Master of the Mountain Season 13. Which theory did I make for Season 13 that turned out to be correct? Well, I made a video entitled Ninjago, Cole's Mother Returns in Season 13? Question mark. I really love my titles. But I made that video, and it turns out that this theory is partially correct, partially incorrect. While Cole's mother did return in flashbacks, and we actually got to see her character and see how she interacted with Cole, and we learned a little bit more of her history, essentially that was correct, but she didn't really show up in the physical sense, if that makes sense. She didn't come back at the end of Season 13 or whatever and team up with Cole like I kind of wanted. Instead, she did show up in a different way. But even if that was the case, I'm still counting it as a theory that I got correct, just based on the fact that, again, we only had the fact that it was a Cole season revealed and the fact that the initials of the season were MOM, or Mom, otherwise known as Master of the Mountains. So clearly we got that right. But overall, Cole's mother coming back wasn't in the exact way that I was expecting, but I still predicted that she would return in some capacity, so I'm counting that as a correct theory on my end. But regardless, that'll pretty much do it here. I picked out an example of a theory that I got correct from every Ninjago season, or at least my favorites that I did that I got correct. This just goes to show that even though sometimes a lot of theories do end up being false, sometimes they are actually true, and sometimes you can predict something correctly. I feel like I did the best job here with Season 8, Sons of Garmadon, but that does kind of scare me of how, again, predictable Ninjago might be becoming. But let me know down below in the comments what your favorite example of this is. Feel free to go ahead and look back through my old content and find an example of a theory that I got correct, or leave it in the comments, whatever works. Obviously, I had previously done a video similar to this, talking about theories that I got wrong. If you haven't seen that video, go check that out too. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video here. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and check out the links down below in the description for my other forms of social media. As always, big shout out goes out to my Patreon supporters, including once again the marvelous Jan. Thank you guys so much for watching this video once again. My name is TannerFishies, and with that I bid you farewell.